Hey, sorry about that. Let's turn the music down. Slight technical issue. Are you still with me? Boom! Welcome to Tokyo Tonight 2. I am Hiko Simon, here every Sunday 10:30 p.m. Japan Standard Time, sometimes a little bit late and sometimes with technical issues with the camera not working the first time. But if you're not, we got it working. It's all good. How are you all? I hope you're all well. I am good. So yeah, my Chan TV is down at the moment. We had an issue last week where the server we were using went down briefly, and when it came on again, everything loaded at once and the memory went out. We basically have to re-upload the code. It should be okay for everyone who's using the site, but I'm sorry it's been out this weekend. That is my life, technical issues, but everything's got a fix as usual, as you can see. It should be more straightforward than this, but is what it is. Anyway, I hope you are all well. But you know what, I'm not going to use those ones, I'm going to use these ones because they're less shiny. And yes, welcome. So how is it all going, everybody? I see there's lots of people there in the comments. It's good to see you all. A few news topics this week. One personal one. I've been using this Withings, sort of a smartwatch. It's an analog smartwatch, but the battery's got about like 6 months on it. And it tracks how many steps you walk and everything, and it syncs with your iPhone. It's really, really cool. I quite like it. I got this band myself. However, apparently, well, one, Withings got bought by Nokia, and then Nokia, like it did with its cell phone, seems to have screwed up Withings, and they've sold it back to the original owner, which I thought was great. But when I took it around to get the battery changed again the other day, apparently all the shops said, no, these things, sometimes they don't work after you replace the battery, so we don't change the battery on them anymore. So I can't get this replaced. So I'm thinking, well, in addition to the fact I'm getting the new iPhone this year, I'm probably going to look at, I saw that Google announced the other day that they're probably going to do a Pixel version of this, a Pixel watch, sort of a demonstration flagship of the Google OS. And I really, you know, I'm not interested in the Apple iWatch because I don't like how it looks. I don't like the big square lump of black metal on your arm. I do quite like the round ones that Google OS is made for, so I'm going to maybe hold that a couple of months and see if I replace it with that. But I'm very sad. Time of death 7:25. At the time I had walked 550 steps, not 5,500. Oh wait a minute, no, that is 5,500 steps. So yes, I need a nuke sound effect when I say boom. Well, let's see, I can boom. Was that enough? I'm sorry, that was actually way too loud, wasn't it? Sorry about that. I'm not an Apple fanboy. No, a Windows watch. Well, I'm going to get a Google watch anyway. I'm not really. I mean, I love my iPhone, but that's just because it lets me do this, you know. But more of a Google in terms of the phone. So yes, that's a proper boom, right? I could just start with that. But yes. And the screen goes black, and it came back this time. So anyway, let's see who's in the chat and get into it for this week. Which reminds me, there's the iPad over there. I don't have all that much. I might be able to get to some music tonight, but we'll see. Some people like that, some people don't. Andrew Moboy, great to see you. Hi and good evening. Musashi Mark, also great to see you. Tim the Asian Ink, good to see you. My good man, good to see the J Vlog as well. And John Anderson, you got here on time. I didn't. Congratulations, you beat me. Achievement, says Tim the Asian Ink. Sup indeed. The 07 is a salute, O being the head and 7 being the arm. Oh, gotcha, okay. Widely used in the gaming community. Well, there we go, that's how out of touch I am. Okay, I never got that, so thank you for the explanation, the J-Vlog, good to have you there. Sergeant Bilko made it. Yep, we've got a coffee, cookie and a carrot. What could possibly go wrong? I will not speculate. Kimmy Kim 3 minutes to go. Well, actually, it turned out to be 5 minutes to go. Sorry about that. Ben Duncan, just in time. Good that you could make it. Hey, Ty Nakamura made it. I just had his tunes playing before. Good to see you, Mr. Nakamura. Who else we got here? Steve from Berkeley. Good to see Steve from Berkeley. We also have Odie Jr. Boom, on time. Well, Mr. Cordy Chep complaining about my lack of time and complaining loudly. A wizard is never late. That's right. I just changed the time to be on time. What else? Who else we got here? A revolt, a scheduling mistake. No, not a scheduling mistake. There's the Dark Lord has arrived. Thank you. Yes. Of course, not my butter factories. I don't know what that means. everybody observing the technical issues with much hilarity and fun being made. Cured, boom. Barringer is here. Blinded. Yes, I'm blind with science and truth and common sense. That's what we do here. Technical issues, that's what we do. Mary Lagos, good to see you. Buenos dias. Buenos tardes. Buenos dias. No? Good to see you. We have, who else we got in here? Odi Jr., I think I said already, and we are all up to date. So, boom, let's get into the topics. And of course, if there's anything you'd ever like to ask me, or you'd just like to request a topic, or talk about rabbit's feet, I don't know, you know, just do the @ Simon, and I will see it highlighted in orange, because I'm looking straight at the screen with the comments right there. And yeah, so actually they're not there, they're actually slightly over there, but you know, same difference. I can see it. I can actually see it here as well. So in fact, I should look this way, because that way it looks like I'm looking at the comments over there on the screen, even though I'm actually looking at a different screen. Very complicated. Okay, so for the topics tonight, one thing that was interesting that I was reading that I didn't include in the topics actually was Tofugu tested 2 of those like portable multilingual translators, including the Illy, which to me just looked fake. To tell you the truth, I shouldn't say that, but it did, and I didn't believe it. But I read the Tofugu review, and I do trust Tofugu's review of these things, and they said it was actually surprisingly, it was better than what they were expecting, which isn't necessarily to say that it was good. In fact, I think it got a 5 out of 10 in the end, but it was better than the complete lie that they were sort of expecting. Apparently, for basic translations being said with a delay and a loud and annoying voice, it was pretty good, apparently, for short phrases. The thing is that they mentioned that when you start to use it, it immediately like distracts the entire conversation to everybody focusing on that. But it's interesting, I mean, I suppose. So they said if you are absolutely hopeless in Japanese and you want to use very basic phrases and very fixed sort of situations, like being at an airport or whatever, it could actually be useful. So, you know, obviously not the multilingual bot that I think we are probably going to have maybe about 10 years from now. But a step on the way to that. Do I have music going on in the background? You know what? I didn't shut down the desktop audio, so that will be it. Oh, there it is. It was still going a little bit small there. Sorry, that is the what is the track? That's Nightbreed 88 Overt, the track. Ben Duncan, thank you for sharing. Slightly too much information, but we can just carry on. So with Japan, what's been happening in Japan lately? Maybe first place to start is, you know, just since it's been #1 on the news, I was amused and bemused, and again, I try not to pay attention to the elected leader of the American people, former star of The Apprentice, mentioning the other day that they're going to pay North Korea a shit ton of money, and it will be paid for by Japan and South Korea. And of course, a lot of people saying, well, it's a bit like we're going to build a peace process and make the Mexicans pay for it. But it's not actually. Here's the thing, I mean, on the one hand, you know, the idea that he's going to do a great deal and make other people pay for it, yeah. South Korea has paid for it before and probably would pay for it. Whether they can make Japan pay for it, well, Japan's made its criteria for paying North Korea pretty clear for the last like 20 years. Since they released the first abductees, they've made it clear if North Korea just has to release all the other abductees, and they can actually negotiate a post-war settlement, much like the one which Japan negotiated with Korea, that Korea kept it, South Korea chose to keep secret in 1965. But you know, there is, Japan has acknowledged back in 2002 that, you know, there is a pile of gold waiting for North Korea if it just releases the elderly Japanese people that it still holds. You know, puts up with a little bit of the embarrassment, but you know, the regime there has pretty much good control over information. I don't know if they're willing to give up nuclear weapons. I don't know why they wouldn't give up an old lady. But apparently, yeah, if they do that, then Japan is willing to chip in to economic aid. I mean, obviously, it would come down to more than just that. North Korea will have to stop manufacturing counterfeit super bills, which, of course, the government there is able to produce of fake US and Japanese currency. They'll also have to stop producing crystal meth in factories, which gets shipped over to affiliated organized crime syndicates in Japan and sold here for hard currency for the regime. You know, they'll have to stop all that general misbehaving that they do It's quite understandable why they do it with all the sanctions on. They need currency and so on. I do understand, and if you're a government, you can do it. But at the moment, they are, for all intents and purposes, a mob syndicate that is trying to go legit or whatever. Well, allegedly, I don't think they ever can go legit because you kill so many of your people that when you come and have normal law and order, you become accountable like regular people. So there's a big disincentive for them for ever normalizing. But there again, the American president has said that he will give guarantees that Kim Jong-un's government can survive, which is like promising Hitler that he could just keep going on with the factories. But no one really seems to care very much for the North Korean people. And if that's the case, then, indeed, that pot of gold, that Japanese pot of gold is there at the end of the rainbow. America just has to remember to ask for those things that Japan keeps saying over and over that they want, that everyone else doesn't pay attention to. So we'll see. I still, as I've said before, think the best way to engage is not to engage. But if you are going to engage, it's good entertainment. The other stuff with the international trade war stuff is just nonsense. But we'll see how long that goes on anyway. But is what it is. Guarantees, indeed. Well, that's right. Glad people found that entertaining. Let's get into the topics from Japan that I've noticed in the news this week. The first one that we've got is apparently 70%, more than 70% of Japanese people surveyed recently, and this is by Kyoto News, that's right, currently considering changing jobs, which is, when you think of the country of lifetime employment. I mean, on the one hand, the employment reforms from Takenaka, Heizo, and Koizumi back in 2002 certainly. There was no fluidity in the job market. People would not change jobs, which meant that old dying industries would be full of people not wanting to quit and not being able to fire them, and new industries wouldn't be able to find enough people. And they always pointed out this wouldn't be, this wouldn't maintain from a very rationalist economist's perspective, and very not a socialist perspective. The idea is that you need a fluid labor market. You need people willing to quit and people willing to go and pick up new jobs and whatever. So basically, they dismantled the lifetime employment and the security system around jobs that Japan used to have. Good for employers that they can hire everyone on contracts and fire them and let go of them more easily and be more flexible. The downside is that the remaining workers, and particularly all the workers that have been hired since 2002 in Japan, they know that they're not being promised any security anymore. So the loyalty, you could say, of young employees these days, no one wants to be like their dads, being tricked into thinking that they had a job for life and then being in fear and often let off before their pension. They know not to be sucked into that, and as a result, people are smart. They're looking around and they are more than willing, and you've got a job market which totally takes employees for granted, that thinks that they've got these employees for life, and they don't know how to treat employees in a way that will keep them there. So you have this kind of funny situation where all these companies that have never had to actually create good working environments for their workers before are not doing it, and you have these less loyal by some measures, but at the same time, why should they be loyal? What should they be loyal for? Their heads are constantly on the block now of young people, more than 70%, who are willing to change jobs. I think this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing for Japanese society. It's a good thing. It makes people more willing to go out and take risks, try things. It's good for the economy, it's good for young people, and screw the man. They did this to young people, and if they're paying the favor back by just acting rationally, by walking out of these companies that wanted this, well, that's the side effect. That's what they have to put up with. In spite of question down there from the J-Vlog. So does Japan still have that law where when you work for a corporation for 3 or more years, they have to offer you a lifetime contract? It's not exactly like that. If you work as a temp, yes, they do, although right now the Hatarikikata Kaikaku, the current cabinet session is looking to overhaul that law entirely. And I don't know exactly what it's going to change to, but yes, it's not that you can work on any terms. You have to work specifically under the Haken law, under the temp contracting law. But if you are employed as a temp contractor for more than 3 years, yes, typically companies will ask specifically for temp contracting agencies to replace. But the idea is that if someone works as a temp staffer for 3 years and they don't change at the end of that, then yes, you are obligated by law to offer them a full-time position. Companies manage by getting rid of all their temps after 2.5 years. If they're really good, they'll offer them a job internally. So yeah, it's a good question, the J-Vlog, and that is the answer at the moment. It still is there, but and that was one of the kind of holdover things. But I think that's different to working on a contract to being a temp worker. That's only for temp workers. They can employ people on contracts forever, and also the thing with the contract employment is that they're year to year. They are employees of the company, but they can just decide not to renew 1 year, and then, which is tough, and it doesn't offer much security, which is why people don't get married, which is why people don't have babies. Next story. But it's also why people have no loyalty themselves to jobs where the jobs are not loyal to them. ASDF Bikuri Mark 12131. Good to see you. It does sound like a good thing. You read the book on the topic. Well, look, from a detached economist perspective, it's a good thing. From a but at the same time, from a country that's actually worked very hard. I mean, it went from a real hardcore fascist government to a very socialist government after World War II, and that achieved a pretty good standard of living. I mean, granted, it was built on the economic bubble that was kind of false, but Japan's achieved really good social security, which it's just collapsed under the weight that it was just too generous to itself. That generation, that 1960s, 70s generation, just ahead of me, they spend all the money. So there have to be adjustments made, and there's going to be some pain, but it's not necessarily a good thing to get rid of all that security, and it's a little bit frustrating. Being in the generation that was expecting to get that and now has to switch in midlife, we're finding out that we're not going to get pensions. Younger people I respect, because they see the whole situation, and they're not getting tricked like my generation was. So I think it's a good thing, and ultimately the flexibility, I think, is going to release creativity and innovation and entrepreneurship in young people that doesn't exist in the generations before, because they were too afraid to do it. So I think it's a good thing, but I'll tell you, it's going to be there's going to be a lot of pain in the transition. Anyway, despite Japan's best efforts, doesn't say exactly what those best efforts are, but it's been Japan has been offering free bonuses when you have babies. It's been doing its best, but in spite of that, Japan's birth rate continues to decline. My theory on it is and remains, towns full of old people, the remaining young people are fleeing like refugees into Tokyo, and when they arrive in Tokyo, they're discovering, as I've always said, Tokyo is the best city in the world to be single. It is the worst city in the world. It's also an excellent city to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and to date. It's an okay city to be married, as long as you don't have kids, and if you have kids, it's just a terrible, inconvenient, expensive place. And in spite of the real token efforts they've done to sort of make Japan more family friendly, the fact is that the young people are coming to Tokyo, and Tokyo is just a place where it's just too much fun being being a young sort of single person. You can explore hobbies, you can have lots of jobs, you can do whatever you like, and I think around that is, again, Japan's just been a bit too successful, a bit like with the jobs thing. This lifetime employment thing was just so successful that the system collapsed under its weight, and Japan's been so successful at making Tokyo an excellent and fun place to live, and that's why I came here, that people are becoming too selfish to actually have babies and replace the population. So it's a pretty, again, down to 1.43, well below replacement of 2.0. And who knows what's going to happen with that. I think, obviously, they are liberalizing immigration, and we're going to talk some more about that tonight. But, yes, Ori Jr., transport you to Tokyo. A lot of people do offer to do that. But the problem is that, it takes two to tango, although there again, yes, we probably won't go into all the subtleties of that. This is kind of interesting, this one. Marvel's editor-in-chief really wishes we could all just forget him pretending to be Japanese. So apparently this guy, Marvel editor, C.B. Cebulski, the least Japanese name I've ever heard in my entire life, apparently spent months shadow writing as Akira Yoshida in order to circumvent a policy that barred staff employees from working in editorial. And apparently he built up a kind of self-entity around identity around this person. Obviously people, and especially in America, they immediately become racial or appropriation or white person pretending to be person of color, although technically Asian people, they kind of lose on this, don't they? Because my understanding is that by most definitions Japanese get left out of people of color. They get discriminated by the anti-discrimination people, because Asians generally are seen as being kind of successful and quasi-white in America, or whatever. which I think is wrong, by the way, but I've observed that, and it confuses me even more than, you know, having all the sort of segregation that's there in the first place. So for me, what do I think about someone going around pretending to be Japanese? I mean, so we have Gizmodo here saying he'd spent years living in Japanese and is said to speak the language fluently. It should be an adverb. That's all very nice, but it doesn't change the fact that he's a white man who pretended to be Japanese in order to advance his career. That is weird, though not unheard of thing to do. It is also deeply racist. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm kind of pretending to be Japanese. I'm using my own name, but I live here. I mean, that's what being part of a culture sort of is in a way. And it was a pen name. I mean, granted, he was kind of, you know, apparently going to some creative lengths with creating the identity, but, you know, I think what's wrong with being an author? Or, I mean, he was being slightly deceptive. I get that, but, you know, this is a slippery slope to me. Oh, for example, starting to call people who write books from a first-person narrative perspective of an Indian person or a Chinese person as being racist as well. I mean, I don't know, if you go online, so long as you behave, what's wrong with, you know, living out the fantasy of being, I mean, hell, how many people go online and if a person forms an identity as a woman online, they go and pretend to be a girl, for example, as many nerds are supposed to do. Does that make them sexist? Hell, if anything, they're paying tribute to it. I realize it's very uncomfortable to see people getting out of their segregated lots in American society, but first of all, people are in gray zones all the time, and I don't know, at least from a creative perspective, I don't, who wrote this even? It does make me curious. Charles Pulliam Moore. Charles Pulliam Moore believes it's deeply racist to pretend to be Japanese. Even though the guy has lived in Japan and speaks Japanese, I mean, you know, I guess it makes it easier to pull it off or whatever, but the comics industry is overwhelmingly white and male at virtually every single level. Team. Comics are an industry where getting one's foot in the door and advancing is often contingent upon interpersonal relationships you have with other people. Oh, so this guy got an advantage over more deserving white male people. Because of those two things, it is incredibly difficult for people who are not white men to make. So in masquerading as a Japanese man, I don't get this. Cebulski used his access as a Marvel employee's privilege as a white man, which I am very privileged to be. It could just as easily have gone to an actual Japanese person. Oh, I see. So he took the job of an imaginary Japanese character. I don't know. Of course, it's Gizmodo, but I think this is a bit silly. I read it and I thought, well, what do we think? You know, if I were to go online, hell, I'm freaking Hiko Simon. I mean, you know, it's a tribute. It's a handle name. It's a slightly different thing to this, but I'd hate that it would ever become. I guess someday the fact that I'm a privilege. I mean, where I am, I'm a minority. Okay. I meant to click on show for that just now. I can't go past the Australian government, liberal white males. By the way, Andrea Mulboy, when you say liberal in Australia, I know that means right-wing in Australia. Actually, in UK and New Zealand as well, liberal tends to mean pro-business, right-wing, kind of business-oriented Republicans. In America, it means left-wing. Although liberal white males, I don't know whether you're actually talking about the American version of liberal or the actual like Australian political version of liberal, but white males, what can you do, right? Oh yeah, that reminds me, speaking of white males, I'm probably not going to share the results, but I got this. Actually, I met Rochelle Kopp the other day. Just went out and had a bit of a catch-up. We didn't record anything this time. I took a photo, actually. But I actually ordered this from America. They're illegal in Japan because of privacy stuff. But yeah, I can take this. Actually, Rob Miller, the guy who did the entrepreneurship thing, he came on and I saw him on Facebook. He did this. And apparently, you know, this is how they found if any of my cousins are the Golden State Killer, they're going to be caught when I do this, because police often subpoena the DNA information from this, and they can find, you know, if you have cousins with matching DNA to crimes that they're looking to trace. So certainly, I won't be able to go to America anymore if I've committed any crimes in America with DNA, and all my cousins there are screwed if I have any. But you know, I'm just curious to find out if they're there. So sorry, cousins, at least criminal ones. 23andMe, so apparently you just put some saliva in. I have more than I need. and you send it away, and they can tell you all your genetic deformities and your heritage of your mums going back to living in caves in Africa. You know, in terms of cave people before, you know, walking upright. It's only really, you know, it's to me, I still love the fact that we're all like 10,000 years out of Africa, and you think about how short that is. You know, and dad's because I'm a dude, I got the Y chromosome, so yeah, I can actually find out whether, you know, whether I'm white. Who knows? It could tell me that I'm actually Puerto Rican. I would really appreciate that, although of course that's not a race. Caffeine Jedi has done a fantastic video on Hispanic is not a race. And race is, but this is the whole point. Race is such a stupid thing, right? I mean, you know, Akira Yoshida and C.B. Cebulski, you know, 1,000 generations back, which isn't that much. You can imagine 1,000 people in a room. You think of those, you know, sort of lists. It's just like, you know, 10 pages of names. And you're in Africa. We are so recently around the world, right? 70k years. Well, okay, I guess 10k is when agriculture started. Okay, but there again, I mean, remember those were the very first. Those were the Javanese and the, you know, the people who went to India and Australia. You know, so I don't know. I still think it's really cool. I've done the family tree thing. I'm gonna do 23andMe. Hopefully, I guess sooner or later we're all gonna, you know, our DNA is probably going to be as known as our names used to be in the phone book. This is in America. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure if I'll share the results, but who do I think I am? Indeed. That's a funny and ironic comment. So there you go. And who knows? I could be Akira Yoshida. Oh, no, it's probably not going to come out like that. Pretty sure it's going to be mostly Yorkshire. I don't know if Yorkshire actually comes up as a genetic type. It probably should. I think that technically means it's Viking, but you know, who knows? Yeah, Butskaria. So this is something that came up. This is something I have observed before. Among the many different forms of dicks that exist in the Japanese transport system, most people, bear in mind, the Japanese transport system carries 40 million to 30 million people every day. It's a crazy number of people. And you know, people jam in like tin sardines into these trains, and everyone's silent. Everybody sort of, you know, sucks it up. But the thing is, when you're really crammed and really tight with 10,000 people being quiet, like on trains and stuff, one person being a dickhead stands out. When someone starts a fight, when somebody, you know, just can't handle the stuff anymore and starts freaking out, can't handle the claustrophobia. The incidents where somebody gropes a woman. I've never actually been on a train as common as supposedly, in terms of at least most women have experienced it. It's not like it happens every day. It allegedly does. There are some train lines that are known to be worse than others, but in terms of me, 20 years in Japan, I've never seen a case of someone being at least pulled up and accused of being a groper on a train in the whole 20 years that I've been here. I think I've seen one case where I saw someone that I thought might be a groper and that was acting kind of strange, and it was only for one train stop and he got off the train, but I saw one case like that. But yes, that said, you know, when it happens, it's very unpleasant, and when you've got 30 million in a transport system, it's actually amazing that there aren't more weirdos doing more weird stuff. However, you do have this, and this is something that I have observed before. People who bump into you on purpose, and often I think, you know, sometimes there are people who crash into foreigners on purpose. There are people who crash into women on purpose. And you can tell, you know, they're putting, you bump into people. It's inevitable when you move through train stations. You know, sometimes people are looking at their smartphone, they're looking the wrong way, someone's rushing, you'll brush shoulders, and you'll both sort of bump. But sometimes you get somebody who's, who will lean into it and put weight into it, like their timing to hit you. It doesn't happen very often. I mean, maybe once every couple of months or something, you'll run into someone that will hit you and you'll turn around and say, geez, what a dick. You know, and it's always, as this article talks about, it's always a thing that because you're in crowded train stations, you kind of half think that guy did that on purpose, and half maybe it was just really clumsy. And you know, everyone's got that excuse because everyone's sort of bumping into each other. It's the same sort of excuse that gropers use. Maybe it's easier to get away with, also because of the fact that you're moving at the time. But someone actually took a train here where there were a couple of guys who were deliberately, one was giving instructions to the other one of hit that girl, and was actually deliberately like shouldering and stepping into his way to go and block women. Really unpleasant. I mean, really, actually, it's assault. I mean, technically, that's assault. When you intentionally, deliberately go and physically go and crash into people like that, you can go to jail for that. That's still the same as, you know, the degree of contact, well, is aggravating, but it doesn't change the fact that it's physical assault. And so there's a viral video that went through of this, and they call this Butskari Otoko, bumping men. But there are these guys who, for whatever, you know, just you know, and the worst thing is the internet helps these people get together. So these people exist, and I'll tell you what, if there is a backlash against them and a campaign against them and people who start pulling them up, I'm all for that. So yes. Grilla, did I recently consider, did I consider taking a shower recently? Yes, I did, just this evening. Thank you for asking. Not sure why you'd ask that. Grilla, I've never actually, oh, I see, you're a troll. Okay, well, that's fine. Yes, I had a shower just before I got on the show, but you know, unfortunately for you, you don't have the smell of vision, you can't enjoy this. So yes, in fact, you are, I suppose, the internet version of these people. So there we go. This is an interesting one. This caught my attention not so much because these surveys just tend to be bullshit to begin with. I don't know where they get this data that, you know, 31% of women admit to cheating on lovers, 6% say that they got caught. Well, depending on what you define as cheating, in my experience, it's pretty much guaranteed almost 100% of men. I mean, men will tend to differentiate paying for it and, you know, having an affair of someone that they actually mean to break up with their current girlfriend and go you know, an affair of the heart. And they'll actually, like, functionally say they've never cheated, but sure, they went out with the guys from work and, you know, went to a blowjob bar or something. That happens in Japan. It happens less now, I think, than it used to. It used to almost be, you know, a normal thing. In fact, actually, in my very first run in Japan, I've told the story before. I got taken out by some friends who wanted to cheer me up after a breakup by taking me to one of these places, and you know, I wasn't allowed in, so that kind of saved my integrity, at least for that for that episode. It was added to my depression an awful lot. We're even paying. I couldn't go out and do it. But yeah. So I mean, at the same time, this article is very focused on the wrongs of women in a way which, I mean, geez, they took 1,737 from Mecha Comic. I don't know. I mean, this does seem to make out. I suppose it comes back to my original all-connecting theory that Japan is just an awesome place to be single. And I suppose if you are single and you're looking just to have fun and not get attached, and how, you know, you want to avoid marriage and so on in Japan, probably plays into the fact that people are actually guarded against being trapped in relationships, and perhaps that would facilitate this kind of behavior. But I don't believe that number. I don't believe that women, and there we go. Well, 36% said that they had done it, and 38% said that they had been cheated on. So I don't know. I don't believe that even if that's true, I do. Oh, and they've got the definition. Oh, geez, isn't that horrible? What constitutes cheating to women? Just going out together, 9% don't like men just going out with women at all. Holding hands, 19%, which is a bit rare in Japan. Like, public displays of affection is, yeah. Hugging, 14% less than holding hands, so there you go, it's okay to hug, which also I probably agree with actually. Kissing, 27%, that's actually quite low. Having sex, 29%. That's just strange. That just makes no sense to me whatsoever. So anyway, yeah, hugging. Japanese don't hug. It's kind of funny when you do a hug for a greeting. When I've had Japanese friends who were freaked out by me wanting to give them a hug, hello. And it can be weird. You sort of end up, sometimes you go for a hug and they come up with the, oh, shake your hand. It's actually quite depressing. Although I got over it about 20 years ago. So that's kind of interesting. This is another story as well, where the old thing that, you know, the women in the office are supposed to go make the tea. Apparently someone on Twitter, the younger ones, again, millennials are awesome. They're not taking the old shit. You know, 70% of them are just changing jobs. And those who are being told are saying, oh, why does the woman have to make it? And someone said, well, it just tastes better when a woman makes it. Which I guess he thought was a witty and clever way to come back. And she said, oh, just like it tastes better when men pay for the yakiniku that you're going to take us all out to. And apparently after that they changed the policy and instead made it the youngest person on the team has to make it. Yeah. Where's the other percent? I don't know. Who knows? Mr. Cordychep, this type of story comes up. Yes, indeed, it is complete rubbish. I think it is complete rubbish, and the site for that story before isn't very credible. And yes, these stories do come up every now and then. Facebook, officially less popular with American teens than Instagram and Snapchat. And that's good, because seriously, well, for one thing, now it's not even a matter, I mean, you know, I've been using Facebook since the beginning, and it's kind of like then my parents got onto it and everything, and it just gets awkward, like being on there when everyone can see everything. Plus the fact that, of course, you're being spied on and manipulated with it, and they're just selling your data and stuff like that, and people are pretty stupid. I mean, us Generation X's, we really got sort of screwed. So yes, indeed, if people are going onto Snapchat and Instagram instead, I'd say good job. They're much smarter. I don't know. I mean, I still use Facebook just because there are so many people on it. I find it a useful communication tool, but I know I'm basically being, you know, done over the pommel horse like the guy in Pulp Fiction. So, you know, while I do it, but it's a bit like having a telephone system like in East Germany, where you know every phone is being spied on, but you still got to call grandma, so you just do it. That's pretty much what Facebook is for me right now. It's too useful for me to give away, but yes, I'm also very impressed and happy to see people are moving away from it. Mr. Quaddy Champ, you didn't even have, what's that? Instagram banned you the moment that you made an account. You have a feeling it might have something to do with your handle name. Just throwing that out there. I don't know, but sorry to hear that. But there again, I mean, don't worry. There'll be something cooler and better coming out anytime now. If you are in Europe, I know I talked last week about the GDPR, about the new privacy regulation, which is a good thing, and it's probably going to make companies like Facebook have a pretty tough time figuring out how to make money selling everyone's data while being transparent about what they're doing with all the data. So those protections now, Japan also has a pretty tough personal information protection law, which Japan's culture has always actually been really tough on sharing personal information. The new law last year was pretty tough, and apparently Europe has just basically done a deal where it's going to mutually recognize that data held and processed in Japan is going to be basically treated the same as if it was processed within Europe. They're going to recognize that Japan upholds standards equivalent to Europe. So, you know, if you're in Japan or Europe, it means that at least there'll be slightly less hassle sharing information, especially if you have a business that's cross-border between those two countries. You're still screwed if you're like Australia, America, or, you know, soon to be Britain or anywhere else outside of the EU. But if you are Japan, you know, you're actually going to have a pretty, you know, it'll be slightly easier if you're doing a business into the EU out of Japan. So that's kind of good news if you're in Japan. With the big push for immigration for foreigners, there are people noticing that people are going to Japanese schools and not necessarily coming out very good. Daniel DiPaolo, well, you are going to be heading for that. So I guess that's a warning, and I guess the intention there was humor, but you're going to head for a block. That's a strike, isn't it? I'm not blocking you right now, though, but dude, you know, seriously. Anyway, they're tightening up language standards, which is probably a good thing, actually. Until now, they haven't really cared about people learning Japanese. The schools have kind of been unregulated and all over the place. But if you're coming to Japan to learn Japanese, yeah, Japan's getting really serious about having more immigrants come and having them learn Japanese well. And it's good that I believe the Education Ministry is beginning to create and enforce guidelines to ensure quality of Japanese language education. Why things my watch is dying, I'm a bit depressed. The marathon course for Tokyo, check this out. So this is kind of cool. So start and finish is going to be in the new Olympic Stadium, which is being rebuilt on top of the old stadium. And oh, gorilla, that's not good. That's not good, dude. I'll put you in a timeout. You're not blocked, but dude, you know, seriously. That's not cool. Jesus. So the 1964 stadium is being rebuilt. There's going to be a new stadium there. It's going to walk through Ichigaya and Iidabashi, which actually have some pretty decent hills in them. They've also got some of the Iidabashi has some of the best eating, the best restaurants in Tokyo. It's actually one of my favorite neighborhoods. Sudabashi, Tokyo Dome, the horse racing stadium, all that stuff. Then the Palace, famous jogging course. That's pretty cool. Then it's going to go around Tokyo Station and out towards Asakusa, the old part of town, Kaminarimon, all that sort of stuff, out towards near Tokyo Skytree, and then it's going to loop back and head towards Tokyo Tower, the real Tokyo Tower, and then back to Tokyo Station again. Then it goes to the Palace, I believe. Okay, so you can see that. But then you go through the Palace, and then back, climbing up hills in the final 10 kilometers through Ichigaya, Iidabashi, back to the stadium. It's going to be a great marathon course. Oh, and you can see at the top there, you can see the elevation. So yes, it goes down a big hill and then up a big hill. at the start and end. It's a very flat course, so they reckon it's going to be good. For let's do that for now. Boom, boom, boom. So yeah, I haven't had to do that in a while. I've had to do that with 2 people tonight. I haven't done that geez, I don't think even a year I've had to block anybody. So screw you guys. Anyway, so yeah, it's going to be a good course. It's going to be a great tour of Tokyo. In fact, it's a good tour of Tokyo to do anyway, just like in a Mario Kart or something like that. It'll be, again, stuff to look forward to there with the Tokyo Olympics, with that course being there. A Japanese inventor has invented drones. That's right, it's going to be a very tough final kilometers. I think that's part of the design. It's going to be very tough, but you're going to have something in the tank for the final 5K. A Japanese inventor has designed drones that will follow golf players around on golf courses. And basically with umbrellas, so they can play golf when it's raining with a constant umbrella over their heads. Apparently they're highly responsive. They actually do work pretty well. The only problem is that they are noisy and they have very strong downdraft. So it may blow your ball off the tee. You may have to chase the golf ball as the drone hovering above your head blows it further along into the sandbar. And I'm not sure, I mean, based on that height and holding a normal golf club, you may smash the crap out of it unintentionally, but apart from that, I think it's a very, very good idea. Yes, indeed. A drone that follows people, that's kind of cool. AI cameras are coming, and apparently, yes, they're already stopping shoplifting. They're making it easier to catch and track people. They can track different types of behavior. Of course, facial recognition is also coming in. I mean, the day we're going to have the Minority Report, where you're going to walk into a shop and they're going to say, "Oh, Mr. Hikusaimon, come and have some chocolate mint again," and some, I mean, this is, and why wouldn't you do that, right? Recognized, like going onto a website where it has all your recent purchases and so on, and suggestions. You'd be able to go into physical shops and they'll be like that. Those days are coming, and the idea that yes, you obviously, I mean, you shouldn't be able to get away with this stuff at the moment anyway, but apparently NTT and other companies, NEC and so on, are developing AI-based. They're using the existing security systems. They're hooking them up with video processing software, and they are basically creating alerts and making it easy to track and catch shoplifters. So yeah, find a different hobby, I suppose, if you're into that sort of thing. Foreign students, part-time saviors, at the moment, generally part-time jobs. If you have already like a proper working visa or something like that, I think most of the convenience store jobs are actually by students and so on, or people on other visas. But there are a lot of foreigners doing those jobs, but convenience stores are not allowed to sponsor visas for people to come and work in Japan, purely to work at a convenience store on a minimum wage job. It's something that the convenience industry has been complaining about, because you have to come here for jobs where there are shortages of local people. However, with the shortages of people all over the economy, the government is revisiting this, and indeed I think that the liberalization to allow students in Tokyo to work part-time in things like convenience store jobs has been good. Whoa, it's Attack of the Trolls. Time out. So yeah, we've got speaking down the bottom. Japan is opening its doors. The number of workers doubles in 5 years under the national labor crisis. So if you want to come and find a job in Japan, yeah, you can actually, it's getting easier and easier. They're liberalizing the categories that you can come and find jobs here. Not always good. I've expressed my views about the apprenticeship system, which has just been terrible. But Ben Duncan, it better be a 3D mask, because the cameras are not gonna, they're getting that good now. But yeah, that's not a bad idea. Wow, we have, okay, hard user on this channel, boom. What does that do? Cool, that's good. Okay, so yeah, anyway, it's good news. And yes, more jobs coming. What else have we got here? Self-driving vehicles to surpass 30% of new cars in Japan. I think this is a number predicted by 2030, so it's not immediate. But again, with all the elderly people that keep like driving, and just the other day there was a person. How old were they? They were like 90-year-old person still driving because in most remote parts of Japan. Yep. So yes, the where was I? A 90-year-old person mistook the brake and the accelerator. You know, happens quite a lot. It must be, Sergeant Booker. So the I mean, that last one, apart from all the swearing and racism, was actually a practical suggestion. Although I'm not quite there, but when I'm, I'll consider it when I get to that. But geez, I mean, why do people just have to? Don't be a dick. Seriously, like. Oh, anyway, so yes, so they mistook the brake for the accelerator. They hit the brake. They actually drove into a police station and they killed like 5 people this week. And again, this just happens every week. Elderly people, they live in towns where they need to drive. It's clearly the same. It's clearly the same person. And given that they're using multiple accounts, I guess that they're going to come back. But there we go. We'll just keep the whack-a-mole. Yeah. Anyway, the sooner we can get, the thing is that you can't just take their driver's licenses away, because they are, in most parts of Japan, they are remote small towns where they live, where there's no public transport, and they need cars to survive. But at the same time, they're getting too old to drive sometimes, and there's no real framework for that. So the idea of having self-driving cars, primarily for looking after the elderly people and getting them around, I think is actually extremely necessary. So this really can't happen soon enough. Plus, I've already expressed my view, which is that when I used to go out to the beach and I get driven out to the beach, for example, boom, that's fun. It's actually the idea that you can just sleep, you can read a book, you can watch a movie, you can read a magazine, you can do whatever you like. You can go all the way, and you can actually travel all around, and the car will just drive you around safely. So I think that's a good thing, and it's something to look forward to. Good night, Andrew, my boy. Have a good night. And what else have we got here? So that's something I'm looking forward to, and it's very necessary in Japan. More foreigners there. Unemployed, 1.7 million stuck in part-time jobs. That's the foreign language requirements. That's more things will make it easier to for foreigners to get jobs. This I just thought was super cool. This is an Israeli hover ambulance. It can travel 20 miles and it can be used for evacuating injured soldiers or whatever. Basically, it's unmanned and it hovers. And I think I remember those books of the future that you used to look at when I was a kid, and there were things like this, basically flying ambulances like this. And I think this is super cool. I love the idea. I'll have to look back. I don't even remember what the deleted message was. The last one that I deleted here. We can make. Oh, yeah. I guess that was going to keep trying. I guess so. But they're still staying blocked, so it doesn't matter. Thank you for making me look at that again. ASDF 12131. What else have we got here? Oh yeah, this is my favorite story of the week. NHK, a Tokyo company, has innovated. They have created suits that farmers can wear while they are standing in fields of shit, up to their waist, making rice. I mean, that's essentially what rice fields used to be full of. And even today, of course, it's basically a job where you get covered head to toe in mud, but for some reason someone thought it would be a really good idea. And the average age of farmers in Japan is now over 80 years old. So I suppose, you get to that point. One, why do you really care anymore? And two, why not be a bit classy with it? Seriously, it actually does suit the guy. But again, for attracting, it shows pretty much a sign of surrender that you're hoping to attract young people back to become farmers, which is another problem that Japan has. But there again, I mean, who knows, perhaps the idea of being able, I mean, at the moment, this is obviously the elderly bowling greens, umpire's uniform, but if you can get into Armani suits and stuff like that, I mean, maybe you will attract the more stylish younger people back into farming. Why you would wear a suit like that while being out in rice fields, I don't know, but gotta say, it does look good on the guy. I mean, it makes me think about it. That's it, instant rice production. I don't know if you have I'll leave that one there. That's actually a reasonable request. The answer is no, but I'll leave it there, Mr. All Caps. Instant rice production at an all-time high in Japan. So this is like the subtle rice, and it's actually really awesome. And it, like 1 minute to heat it up in a microwave, and it works really well, and it's super easy, and you don't even have to boil rice. Which even boiling rice, you get the water slightly wrong, and it can come out too dry or too wet. It's kind of a hassle. So I'm a big fan of the instant rice, and it's on. Obviously, a lot of people agree with me because it's just easy. I think this is actually, I saw some people saying that this is a sign of the breakdown of society, that people are complaining more and more about noise and not wanting to have to deal with other people. But they are actually apparently, I think this is just a sign that Japan is just such a peaceful place, that people just like have a slightly distorted view of what you call the police for. People aren't getting burglarized and so on. Yeah, that's entirely possible, D. Danton. Yes, keep them coming. Japanese police dealt with a record high number of consultations, for example. So they did not call for an urgent response, such as noise by neighbors and graffiti. So apparently of 2.8 million consultations, which is up 50% from 10 years ago, may reflect a loss of community networks. So people are calling the police more, but for less important things, basically. I would like to call whenever someone steals my umbrella. So, that kind of stuff gets annoying. Boom. But, apparently we're not at that level as to this graffiti and noise. Oh yes, well like I say, I mean, we bring in the most intelligent commenters. Even the trolls, I think, are a classier class of troll. I mean, not even being correct with the racist language. I mean, okay, this is disappointing. I was just saying how even my trolls are high quality. But ZX Freak, you're letting the trolls down. I'm sorry. Please try to at least keep it quasi witty. Even if you're going to be a dick. Yes, someone. That's right. There's an LDP committee person the other day who, in a public forum, speculated that about trying to enable both fathers and mothers to basically share like parental leave, for example, having paternity leave, and make it easier for women to work and dads to be able to help out at home. He expressed the view actually that for most kids, they want to be with their mums. They don't want to be with the dads. In fact, having the dads being around parenting more actually is just going to be bothersome to the children, I think. Reflecting the view of the LDP that basically attempts to get women out of the kitchen and looking after children should be rigorously opposed, and yet they still get elected government because the opposition here is so terrible. Japanese people react to vegans. This was kind of interesting. This is Nietzsche, and there was an article on the internet about full vegans and how there are more restaurants and how the veganism is becoming more popular in New York. I agree. They're bringing down the team. Come on, Team Troll, you can do better than that. Be witty. Jeez. So it's interesting. They oh, so they are all your accounts. Well, that's good. I'm impressed how quickly you can make them. Boom. That was hard. So yes, the reactions to vegans by confused Japanese internet users. Rather, basically the number of restaurants now accommodating vegans is becoming, a big thing in New York, and they're saying, hey, just eat the salads. Another person saying, oh, it looks like you'd be able to sell tofu to them. Another person says, tsumaru tokoro. So yes, they're basically Shinshukyo. They're like a new religion. Yes, just basically people being kind of baffled by vegans. Anyway. Yes, it is interesting to see Japanese people act stunned and confused at vegans. And what else have we got? And that's pretty much it. That's all the topics that I had. It is 3 minutes away from the hour. I'll tell you what, just since the trolls are having so much fun, shall I play some music for like 4 minutes? It's enough time for a track. Let's make a track. Let's do that. I haven't done that for a while. Let me go grab the iPad. So it's been a weird night. I guess when I say the trolls, it's only been the troll. I am impressed by the persistence, but not so impressed by the comments. yes, Japan used to be pretty full-on vegetarian actually, pre-Meiji, actually a long time ago when Japan first became Buddhist, and there were various phases where Japan was very hardcore Buddhist, that they actually had mandatory state veganism. Well, it wasn't full-on veganism, but the old Nara diet, from when Nara was the capital of Japan, yeah, they actually like enforced vegetarianism, which I've always thought was kind of interesting. Switch over the chaos pad and adjust the camera to my spectacular head, and will we get a HDMI connection? I hope we do. Let's just do this. Boom. Let's get the HDMI going first. There's no reason that should not be working. Except it's not. So anyway, I'm just going to play style of music. Oh, there it is. Awesome. Okay, let's do this. Let's go audio capture device. Oh, it's there. Okay, I think we're good. How's that? Quickly set up. Have a good night to everyone who's leaving. And some troll and bass music. That's nice. I like that one. Okay, let us now plug in the sound. Okay, troll and bass done. Let's make a new track. Boom. Yep. Let's make it a 164 BPM. How about that one? I know my beats. I'm out of focus. Let's see if it holds that. Yes. Anyway, 164. Let's do a regular drum and bass, like a standard one. What sort of music should we be? Okay, so if I make this into a normal track, hide user on this channel. Oh, that was so easy. And I'll hide that as well. Nice one, JVlog. I'm going to hide that anyway, just because. Oh, hide user on this channel. There we go. Boom. Oh, I got the wrong one. Sorry. Collateral damage. Collateral damage. Sergeant Bilko. Sorry. Boom. There we go. Sorry about that. Friendly fire. Okay, so let's do a normal track. Let's just do an intro. Let's see how it goes. Let's turn it up. That's too much noise for that. Hope you all have a very good week, and remember, keep cool till after school. Thanks for joining the show. Sorry about the trolls, that was a bit of a weird night, but nonetheless it was still good to see you all. I'll be back, actually next week I'll be in America. Did I just say what you think I said? I don't know, what did I say? I should check that back. I might have inadvertently said something that I wasn't supposed to say, but anyway, I am going to be back. What am I going to do next week? I'm flying out to Seattle this time next week. I'm going to be in Seattle. If you're in Seattle, hit me up on Facebook or Twitter. It'll be cool to do a bit of a meetup, maybe on the Sunday evening. when I get there. I'm going to be heavily jet lagged, but that is all good. I'm having a very busy week, but yeah, it'd be cool to do a bit of a meetup. So because of that, I guess I won't be able to do the show, so I will be back the week after next. I may do a quick show, I may not. In fact, I probably won't be able to, so enjoy the week off. Go about your business. They'll be back with hopefully some good updates for MyChan TV. And yes, it did sound like farting, actually. I thought that sound before it did. But yes, otherwise have a good week, everybody. Have a good 2 weeks, and keep cool till after school. Keep following me on Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Like if you like the video, especially if you want to fight off the trolls. You know, try to make the video as uninteresting as possible with lots of likes. That's what I'd suggest. And have a good week, everybody. Doom. Peace out. End of the show. See you later. Thank you, ASDF. It's good to see you.